What horror movie type situation have you been in? When I was 11 years old, two of my friends had a sleepover at my house and we snuck out to go to the store and buy candy. It was probably about 11 p.m. or later at night. On the walk back, about a block from my house, a small car pulled up next to us and the driver got out. He immediately started chasing us. We turned and ran. We dropped all our candy and jumped 2 fences and he was still behind us. I was in the middle. My older friend was about 10 or 15 feet in front of me, and my other friend was slower and about 20 plus feet behind me. I rounded the corner of a house and saw my buddy standing on a random porch, ringing the doorbell and screaming. I stopped on the porch and waited for my slower friend to appear. After what felt like forever, maybe 3 seconds, he came flying around the corner with the guy right behind, reaching out to grab him. It was too dark to see his face. The guy stopped when he saw us standing on the porch ringing the doorbell and suddenly turned and ran back around the house and out of view. A woman answered the door and called the police for us. The police came, but they never found the guy. This was just a couple months after a kid named Jacob Wetterling had been kidnapped about 200 miles away, right in front of his friend. He was also 11. He was never seen again. I still see those 2 friends I was with from time to time. It was almost 25 years ago. We still believe we escaped death that day. Once when I was a kid, maybe 7 or 8 years old, my parents went out for the night and left my sister and I in the care of our older sister and 2 teenage cousins. Around 10 p.m. or so, the doorbell rang, and I went with my sister to see who it was. There was a hooded man standing on the porch. He saw us through the window and started slamming on the door, and my older sister made my younger sister and I hide under a bed while they called the police. It's not really horror movie quality, but as a 7-year-old kid, it freaked me the hell out. Freshman year of college, and I was really drunk at a party. This guy comes up to me and asks if I want to go to his apartment and meet his baby bunny. Drunk me fucking loves baby bunnies, so I decided to go. It was like a 20-minute walk through a really sketchy neighborhood, over a dark, decrepit bridge. Sirens are blasting somewhere in the near distance. We make it to his old shadowy building, walk down a long, narrow hall to his door, and turns out he has a fluffy baby bunny named Ed. We hung out and I played with his literal bunny for like an hour before going back to my dorm. I'm not proud of this, and it really taught me a lesson in self-protection and safety. I'm incredibly lucky I wasn't raped and or murdered. I was driving from Yuma, Arizona to Las Vegas after dropping a friend off. I didn't have GPS or a smartphone, and I accidentally turned off on the freeway that took me out to California. When I realized I was going the wrong way, I called my then-boyfriend in a panic, trying to figure out where I was. He got on Google Maps, found me and directed me to a small backroad freeway that would take me back to the main one that would take me back up to Nevada. Because I had been going the wrong way for a couple of hours and was in the middle of the desert, my gas was running incredibly low and I was terrified of running out. There were no cars on this road and no civilization anywhere. So my BF found a little city that was like 30 miles away from me, and I headed there hoping to get gas when I arrived. Cue nighttime, completely dark in the desert, and no lights from the town I was supposed to be approaching. As I drove up, I started seeing buildings, old abandoned buildings. The town was completely deserted. Windows were broken out, cars and furniture strewn everywhere, and then there was blood. Huge swaths of blood were streaked across the road, not just in one spot, but for a good quarter mile. There was blood everywhere on the road. I couldn't see any carcasses, nothing to tell what the blood had come from, but it was there, and it was glistening. And I swear, I saw 2 or 3 figures moving between buildings. So here I am, lost in the desert, almost out of gasoline, by myself in an abandoned town that has blood spewed all over the road. I've never been more scared or terrified in my entire life. I don't watch horror movies because I get scared really easy, and I find myself pretty much in one. I don't know how, but my gas lasted for another 40 minutes to get me to some podunk gas station. I sat inside there for an hour just to calm down and be with real people. I was camping in the woods in northeast Pennsylvania with my girlfriend at the time. We thought we were alone the first night we slept in our tent. But the next morning, we saw a set of footprints in the snow circling around our tent several times. They were definitely human footprints from boots. We were a little freaked out, but decided to stay another night. The next night is when shit got fucking terrifying. We were in the tent making out, and I was in the process of putting a condom on. She was supposed to be on birth control, but she forgot to take it on the trip, so we weren't taking any chances. I only had the 3-pack of condoms they sell at Wawa because fucking Acme decided to start locking their condom boxes in a glass display case by the pharmacy. I had to ask the pharmacist to unlock the case, and she would always give me a disapproving look and say, "Aren't you a little young?" I called her a cunt under my breath once. And she must have heard me, because now whenever she sees me walking up to the counter, she goes into the back room and doesn't come out until I leave. One time, I waited her out for 20 minutes, and she had to come out when this old fuck came in for his blood pressure medication. That time I asked her for Magnum condoms and all the lube, and that other weird shit they sell to make her extra uncomfortable. This would fall under horror, I think. When I was 12 years old, my friend's sister took us to the beach. She was 19, so she didn't pay a lot of attention to us while we were out boogie boarding in the waves. We got tired and decided to start chatting like most 12-year-old girls do. We propped our arms up on the board, facing one another, with our feet dangling in the water as we talked about boys and school and whatever else. An hour probably went by, and since we were facing one another, we hadn't realized that we drifted pretty far out, and we couldn't see anybody actually in the water. Then, we saw a woman jumping up and down on the shore, calling for us. At first, we thought she was talking to someone else, and then we heard, "Shark!" We quickly realized they were yelling at us and motioning for us to come back in because there was a shark close by. We freaked out and started swimming as fast as we could, but I had asthma and could feel my breathing starting to get more shallow. The waves were pulling me back and I couldn't move forward. I seriously thought any minute I would feel the sensation of teeth digging into my legs. A man got on his sailboat and made his way out to us. My friend got onto the boat first, and then I was second. As I tried to climb up, I slipped and fell back in. Sending me into panic, they both grabbed me and pulled me onto the boat. We never saw the shark, but the man told us they'd seen the fin swimming right by us. I love the beach, but I no longer go into the ocean past my calves. Scariest shit ever. Came home from football practice one afternoon to find front door slightly ajar, blood covering the kitchen counters, phone off the receiver, corded home phone, imagine that, bloody footprints leading to the garage, and a blood-covered knife lying on the kitchen floor. Sister had been cutting sausage that wasn't full thawed and ended up severing an artery in her left-hand thumb. Mom had came home and immediately rushed her to the hospital without time to clean up or make the house less murdery. Walking home from the bars one night, I noticed a man walking not too far behind me. It's a fairly highly populated area, so I didn't think much of it until I turned into the private lane that led to my apartment, and he followed. I got spooked and started running, and he did too. Around the corner of the house, up the stairs, and across the patio, he followed me. I made it into the house just a moment before he did, slammed the door and threw the deadbolt. A second later, he was up against the door. He smiled at me through the glass, then simply turned and walked away. If someone is following you, never go to your house.